The poet Caesar A. Cruz wrote the line, "To comfort the disturbed and disturbed the comfortable," a phrase later repurposed by the artist Banksy to describe the value of art. When we are comfortable, we become complacent, an ailment that hides our faults and stunts our improvements. It is the role of the disturbed to shatter our comfort and let us see past the veil of complacency. Within Magic, the disturbed pushes the boundaries of what is possible, forcing us to perceive the game from a new perspective. I want to showcase this within Magic by discussing a deck that is uniquely disturbing and the process I used to make it. Every deck starts with an idea, an enjoyable play pattern we wish to recreate. We add enablers, secondary effects required for that play pattern to function. Then we supercharge that core engine by adding support, effects that help us win the game or assemble pieces quicker. For this unusual deck, the idea came from Obstinate Baloth, a classic Magic card historically used as anti-discard technology. The line, if a spell or an ability an opponent controls causes you to discard Obstinate Baloth, put it onto the battlefield instead, is brutal against discard strategies. For example, if an opponent plays Blightning, Baloth becomes a powerful response, minimizing Blightning's discard effect whilst developing your own board. I love this play pattern and the prospect of manaless value that it brings. However, it is a narrow set of circumstances that enable this ability. So in Commander, without a sideboard to house narrow hate cards, Obstinate Baloth has lost its purpose, reduced to nothing more than a beast, only played in decks that have synergy with beasts and want to proactively cast them. Slinza, the Spiked Stampede, and Tawnos the Toymaker showcase this. I love the manaless value that Baloth's second ability offers. However, its reactive play pattern is too narrow to build around in Commander. But why does it have to be reactive? Is there a way we can proactively trigger this ability? Proactively triggering Obstinate Baloth's second ability unlocks a slew of powerful free spells. This question represents the primary goal of the deck. However, it is not as simple as playing cards that make us discard, as the wording opponent controls requires the effect to originate from an opponent. We can trick the game into thinking this is true by giving these cards to our opponent. An outcome that is possible with the use of Donate or similar effects. By giving away permanents that symmetrically discard, we bypass the opponent's requirement. This line of thinking is promising due to the redundancy of Donate and symmetrical discard effects. But as I playtest this approach, I encounter another problem. People hate symmetrical discard effects, and as a result, they are quickly destroyed, undermining the core idea before it can be achieved. We need a discard option that allows us to maintain agency while avoiding the ire and removal of the table. Graveyard Trespasser is an unassuming card, only fulfilling mundane roles like Graveyard Hate and Life Gain. However, it sneakily holds the key to this strategy. Ward, discard a card, which reads, whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player discards a card. If an opponent controls Graveyard Trespasser, anything that targets a creature allows us to put Obstinate Baloth into play. Unlike symmetrical discard, Graveyard Trespasser is uniquely good at dodging removal. The combination of ward and an unassuming effect results in players using their removal elsewhere. These four effects allow us to enable the core idea. Donate a permanent that has ward, discard a card, target that permanent, and discard a payoff like Obstinate Baloth. With these, we have an engine that can proactively trigger Baloth's second ability. For this to work in game, we need to find at least one of each of these four effects, a task our commander can help with. For example, if Zedruu the Greathearted is the commander, he provides a Donate effect every game. After playtesting a multitude of commanders, I can say with confidence that General Tazri enables the strategy the best. At first, this seems like an odd choice, but her ability to search for allies finds Iroh Tea-Master and Orvar the Allform, two of the strongest Donate and Payoff effects respectively. While Tazri solves some of the deck's issues, she also creates others. Her 5-color identity is difficult to manage, as there is a multitude of lands like Hammerheim and Nephalia Academy that fulfill core elements of the deck but are hard to include alongside a 5-color mana base. Tazri, although having a 5-color identity, only requires white mana to cast. This lets us cut colors to reduce the strain on the mana base. Each color offers important pieces to the deck, so what colors should we cut? Before we decide, let's take a closer look at how the deck utilizes payoffs. Cards like Orvar the Allform and Obstinate Baloth are rarely, if ever, cast, as we mostly utilize their discard effects. Because of this play pattern, we rarely need colored mana to utilize them, allowing us to lighten the load from the mana base by removing blue and green lands without removing their payoffs. Now that we have an idea of what the deck looks like, it's time to ask, how do we win the game? For this, we turn to the payoffs, as they show us what the deck's core engine can offer. Orvar, the strongest payoff in the deck, when discarded, creates a copy of any permanent. Creating one copy isn't enough to be game-winning, but if you've ever played with Rite of Replication, you know 5 copies is a different story. Once the engine is established, the only difference between Orvar making 1 copy and 5 copies is repeatable recursion. For example, adding Nephalia Academy to the battlefield allows us to slowly bury our opponents in value by copying their strongest threats turn after turn. This play pattern alone can be game-winning, but we can push it further. If we upgrade our targeting effect by making it reusable, and upgrade our recursion plan by making it instantly return the discarded cards, why stop at 5 copies when we can have 500? By assembling all 5 of these cards, we can win the duel, or the game. A 5-card combo might seem impossible to assemble, but considering the deck is largely comprised of these 5 effects and ways to find them, the redundancy makes it feel inevitable. The Disturbed and the Comfortable. If we peel back the layers, underneath they are the same. They only differ in what ideas they bring. I hope this inspires you to build around the play patterns you enjoy, no matter how unhinged they might be, because after all, there is value in disturbing the comfortable.